In this video, we are going to complete the Manatee's death worksheet. If you recall in the previous video, we looked at the relationship between the number of registered motorboats and manatee deaths. We also constructed a scatter plot, we computed the value of R, and we computed the line of best fit, sometimes called the least squares regression line, to model this bivariate data. So let's begin with the worksheet. Letter A. What is the explanatory variable in this statistical analysis? Include the units. What is the domain of this variable? The explanatory variable is the number of registered motorboats. The units are motorboats times 1,000. For the domain, we need to look at the data. If you recall, the domain is possible values of the x. So we're going to look for the smallest value of x, which is 447, and then look for the largest value of x, 719. So our domain is 447,000 to 719,000, and this is one way we can write the domain. Part B. What is the response variable in this statistical analysis? The response variable is the number of manatee deaths. The units are deaths. Question C. Does the scatter plot show a linear relationship between the two variables? Let's look at the scatter plot. According to the scatter plot, there appears to be a linear relationship. If yes, draw an ellipse on the scatter plot. Does there appear to be any outliers? So when we draw our ellipse around the line, we see the ellipse catches all the data points. So the scatter plot suggests that there are no outliers. Part D. What is the Pearson correlation coefficient between these two variables? If you recall, we computed this in the last video. We see that the value of R is 0.941. So the value of R is 0.941. Question E. Describe the relationship between the two variables. We're going to use the value of R to determine the strength and the direction. We have R being 0.941, which implies the strength is a very strong correlation, and it's also positive. So to describe the relationship between these two variables, we would say the relationship appears to be a very strong, positive, and linear relationship. It is very important you talk about its strength, its direction, and state that it's linear, because that's what R measures. Part F. Assuming that the relationship appears to be linear, what is the equation of the least squares regression line? In the previous video, we computed this line. So we see that it's manatee deaths equals negative 41.4 plus 1.25 times the number of motorboats. The least squares regression line, or the line of best fit, is manatee deaths equals negative 41.4 plus 0.125 times the number of boats. Question G. What is the slope of the regression line? Include the units. Interpret the slope. If you recall, the slope is the change in y or the change in x. So in this example, the change in y would be 1.25. We got that from the equation, and that's over 1 unit of the x. So the change in x is 1 unit, which the units in this case is 1,000 motorboats. To interpret this slope, we would say, as the number of registered motorboats increases by 1,000, the number of manatee deaths increases by 0.125 deaths. Question H. What is the y-intercept of the regression line? Include the units. Interpret this value. The y-intercept is negative 41.4 deaths. And what this means is when the number of motorboats, x, is equal to 0, the predicted number of manatee deaths is negative 41.4. Now for this problem, this is nonsense because it's impossible to have a negative number of deaths. And this is because 0 is outside the domain of our x values.
Thanks for watching.